Okay, good morning, everyone. Go ahead and get started. Welcome back to another session of our CEJA office hours. Today we'll be walking through the training and program completion and transition outcomes in the CEJA system. Before that, we'll open it up to Q&A, but I did want to note before opening up to questions. I know there have been some emails and help request tickets. We're still having some issues with that plan versus actual report. Our programmer put out a hot fix late last week, but there's still work to be done. So we're still working on that. It's taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but just wanted to give a heads up because I know some are, saying the numbers aren't, loading correctly or they're showing zero. So that is something that we're still working on. And once we get that hot fix out, we can send out an email to let everyone know so we can, have everyone check their numbers and make sure everything's pulling through correctly. But wanted to just share that with the group before we dive into our call here. So yeah, with that, I will go ahead and open it up to any questions before we get into the demo portion. If anyone has any questions, you can come off mute or ask in the chat. Hi, Daniel. So you got your hand raised.
Yeah, just real quick. So if I submit a pre-screening and create the profile, but let's say that customer doesn't want to participate anymore. I try to go into the pre-screening once the profile's been created, and then I put them under no contact. It won't change their status. They'll still be as a pre-screening or whatever.
Yeah, let me pull up test here. So I want to see. So when you've added them in the system, are we still on this kind of the customer search page, the pre-screening window, or has the application been submitted and completed? Daniel, you might be on mute, or if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it switched me over to the browser.
Oh, no.
Okay, so then, so say for example, these customers have a profile already. So you click on their profile, and then you want to switch them. Let's say the person at the bottom, the inquiry one.
Everyone, okay.
Yeah. So if they have so they're still under the submission. I mean, they're still under the pre-screening here. But
Okay.
once you submit the pre-screening, and then they have a profile. Uh, I would open up their profile and then go back to the pre-screening to put the no contact, check at the top,
Mhm.
and then it doesn't change their status. It won't say do not contact.
Okay. Let me take a look here. Let's just go ahead and submit this for this participant. Okay, so if they're eligible, go ahead and hit submit. Let's see. Applicants. Okay, so then we have access to application here. Okay, so this is the status. You said they're still pre-screening, but even though we mark a do not contact. So I know we have, let's see the status. Do not contact, but I don't know if that's only looking at inquiries. Okay, so if we go over here, um, Okay, pre-screening. Do not contact. Did save. And let me just check over here. I think this probably won't make a difference here, but just want to double check. Yeah, still pre-screening, huh? I wonder if we uncheck that. If we check in pre-screening, meets pre-screening requirements, but not participating at this time.
So yes, at that point, once the profile is created, and then we go to the pre-screening that's available there, and it'll bring us back to the pre-screening, and then we can check the do not contact. The customer status stays the same, and it won't put them under do not contact unless there's another process for that.
Yeah, I don't think there is. Yeah, we might have to talk with the internally with the ERAs about that.
Yeah. Also, if we do put a person under no contact, uh, what does that do to the numbers? Right? Does that number fall off, or is that another number for a do not contact tracking system? How would that work?
As far as let's open up a couple reports here. So in the dashboard, we would see um let me should make sure that we have that selected over here for our example. So yeah, if we have this person does not wish to be contacted selected, I believe, yeah, we do have a row in the dashboard just so we can see. Looks like we got 5 customers in here who have this checked.
So
Although
would that number, like say for example, that person was in the pre-screening because it does track that, does that number go -1 and then do not contact go +1?
it looks like in this case, I
So
think since because their profile was created, they have a WorkNet ID. Or let me say it this way. If they don't have a WorkNet ID, we see zeros here. They're really inquiries, but they have do not contact selected. That's how we're pulling that in now. But with the example that we just went over, I think it
yes,
looks like it's not pulling into to do not contact. So we might have to kind of rethink how we're pulling that in if they become pre-screening. But they're probably, since they are pre-screening, it would actually show up in this row 14, I'm assuming. We're going to have our customer here. No. Okay, I'm going to take a closer look at that. Um, I guess real quick, we'll just check to see if they're in this row here. Doesn't look like we're pulling in here either. Hmm. Is in this row? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think we're going to have to have a discussion with the RAs on how, scenarios like that, if they're, in pre-screening, how we
yeah,
might want to capture them in the dashboard there.
yeah. And if you could ask about, I guess, I mean, do these numbers change? I mean, I like to call them evolving numbers because statuses change and
Yeah.
everything's tracked on status. And um, I guess if we can get some clarity as to if there's a category that goes -1 when they change over to another status, and then that new status goes +1.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say this much that, we're not going to see, in this dashboard any negative numbers here. We would see them, maybe shuffle around if,
Yeah, that's what I
originally.
mean.
Yeah.
So for that, yeah, that 23 will drop down to 22, and
Mhm.
then the do not contact will go to 6, right? Uh,
Yeah.
is that kind of fairly accurate?
Yeah, and let's just double check here. So we got Teddy, Hannah, Cleo, and Harrison for do not contact. If we check our just regular inquiries, doesn't look like they're showing up over there. So yeah, theoretically, that's how if they're just the inquiry records, that's how it, currently operates. But
Yeah,
yeah, with pre-screening, I think we're gonna have to think
yeah.
on how that's yeah, how we want to have that.
And then one more question. Sorry.
No, no, no.
uh, because we are doing monthly reports, um, is there like do these numbers get stored somewhere else as a year to date, and then they reset to 0 starting at the beginning of the month for a new number for the end of that
Um,
month?
Well, let's take a look at a few reports. This report is just sort of, aggregate. I don't think yeah, yeah. So yeah, these numbers are only gonna, go up as you add customers. We don't have any, filters over here, for
Yeah.
time periods. And
Okay.
and I think in the plan versus actual,
So
if we
and these
just
numbers
take
are I guess it would be safe to consider them year to date.
Yes, yeah. And
Okay.
same with if you go into the plan versus actual, you actually do have a little more customization over here, but I don't believe, let me just pull this up here. Um, that the plan versus actual is, kind of taking into account customers with inquiry status. I think it's more, here's how many people we want to serve, and here's, where they've ended up as far as, actually kind of, navigating through the program. Um, kind of the
Yeah.
completion and yeah, kind of outcomes and some demographic information as well.
Okay, fantastic. All right, that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good questions. Good questions. T environment can be a little slow. This is around the time we do a build and test, so this might take a while, but let's see. Okay. Yeah, are there any other questions? Oh, it looks like it did load here. Okay, so yeah, we are pulling in inquiries, but I don't believe this is really getting into. Well, this I think maybe just counting anyone who ever was an inquiry here. So, but yeah, in the reports themselves, where you have a little more customization with the time frame you want to look at, it doesn't get quite into the level as this dashboard report does.
So there's at the moment there's no way to do to filter out monthly, right?
Can you filter? Well, you could do over here, at least in the plan versus actual, you could filter
Oh, okay.
by yeah by a
Yeah,
month
by
here with
day.
the
Okay,
custom
cool.
dates there. All right, well, we'll have time for questions at the end as well. But if any questions come up, you can put them into the chat. Let me close a few things here. Okay, so program completion and transition outcomes. So let's look at someone else. That's someone who's enrolled. All right, about this one here. Okay, so we have a lot of services here that are open. Hang on, let me maybe find someone a little more recent. Okay, how about this one? Fewer services. Okay. So I may just delete some of these just for the sake of time so you don't see me updating all the statuses for, all these different services we can see listed here. So let me just go ahead and run through these. Okay. Oh, it sounds like there's a couple more. Okay, now we should be good. Okay, so on the program completion follow-up tab here, we can see training completion status is in progress. So once they're no longer receiving, any training services, they've completed, all the requirements, we can update this to complete. And well, actually, before we do that, I do have one service. Well, let's see what happens. So I'm logged in as, let's see, workforce hubs. Yes. Um, so when we, comes time to update complete, then we have completion type. We have a few options here: successful placement without bridge training completion, without job specific training completion, and successful completion of bridge and job specific training. And so when we select one of these, the system will do a check just to see if the requirements are there. And so in this case, we said successful completion without bridge training program. And we can see we have some action items here. The first one being, non-bridge job-specific training services need to have a status of successful completion, unsuccessful completion, or evaluated not required. And then the next one, bridge training service status needs to be unsuccessful completion. And the last one, we need to add some text here. Clean energy job or wrap transition outcomes needs to be added. And so over here, we do have bridge training service, but we need to update the status. So if we update this to unsuccessful completion, here. All right, so once we've updated that, if we come back over here and mark as complete, make that first selection again, we can see, those first two items have been addressed. We've closed all our training services. The bridge training service has a status of unsuccessful completion. And then at this point, we just need a job or wrap transition outcome to be added here before we can mark them as complete. And so then if we take a look at successful placement without job specific training, we can see we're good on the training services, but our bridge training service should be complete. The job specific training services need to be removed or have a status of unsuccessful completion. And then again, the job or wrap transition outcome to be added. And so the system will, kind of alert you, if on what the next steps are. And we have this for workforce hubs currently, and we're going to kind of update this logic for Climate Works and our other programs as well. But yeah, we do have the workforce hubs out. So just in case you see that, you can get a sense of coming back to the career plan and the services over here to see what we might need to update over here. And let's see. So in this case, so yeah, let's say we do this one, successful placement without job-specific training completion. So then we need to go back and update the bridge training service to a status of completion, but we will need to add that post-assessment score here. Okay, so we got that entered. Okay, so that's updating. And then the job-specific training service needs to be removed or have a status of unsuccessful completion. So quickest way for job-specific training, let's just remove this one here. And if we refresh, say complete, there's that third one. So we're good with those items. We just need to, wait a minute. Be successful. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong one for a second. Okay, so those training services are good. Now we just need to add a transition outcome for a clean energy job or DOL registered apprenticeship transition outcome to be added. So we'll close this and we'll go down to our transition outcome section here. And let's add job placement. And we'll say yes to, is this job in clean energy or construction buildings trades? We'll say yes. And actually, while we're on this question, we did get a few emails and help requests of there were some grantees who were saying, or who were seeing that in the plan versus actual report, we have our primary and secondary outcomes. And they were wondering why the outcomes are showing as secondary rather than primary. And at least in the case of job placement, it was looking at this question here. No was selected, so then once yes was selected, then they went from the secondary outcome to the primary outcome. But just wanted to note that in case if that's a question that you've been wondering about or have asked before about that report and the difference between primary and secondary. So is this job in clean energy or construction building trades? We'll say yes. And let's just enter some employer information here. Date. That's Thursday. Okay, then we'll add the job here. Oh, oops. There we go. Yeah, that was going to add a second job entry, but we're just gonna use the first one for now. Enter a case note. And when the page refreshes, if we go back to our training completion status, select complete. The second one here, we can see that we're meeting all of the criteria there. And so for completion date, we'll say today. And I also have gotten a few questions about this too. We do have this exit interview questionnaire. It is an optional, it is an optional field. You don't necessarily have to upload a file there. You could still update the status without doing that upload. We'll click save. And we can just leave another case note. And then we are now complete. And you can see successful placement without job-specific training completion or the completion type there. And if we needed to go back to, update our transition outcomes once they've been added over here, if you hover over which outcome it was, you can make that selection, and that'll pull up the window where we can make the necessary changes to this field here. You can see that that's been updated. And let's see. So yeah, and then for program completion status, customers complete the program, they're no longer receiving any services. We can mark them as exited. If we make that selection there, save and add a case note. Once this refreshes, they'll now show as exited. And for the transition outcomes, we walked through job placement. We can go through the other ones as well. So we have apprenticeship status, applied, denied, placed, or waitlisted. And okay, just want to make sure. And then our questions, is this apprenticeship in clean energy or construction building trades? Is the apprenticeship union or non-union? And is this a DOL registered apprenticeship program? If we say yes, we have the field for Rapids ID appear here. And if you don't know what the Rapids ID is, you can check this box here and it'll still allow you to save. So then we'll say for apprenticeship program, if it's apprenticeship program. And we'll see apprenticeship's been added over here. Next transition outcome, we did do job placement. But I do want to note that maybe there was a second job, maybe they changed jobs, or we can open this window, or maybe they got a promotion. We could add job entry and add a new second job placement, new employment information here, or update that. So day, save, and our case notes again. All right. And then for job placement, we can see our original one and the second one that we just added here. And if we needed to edit this information, again, we can click job placement. We could add a third, or if we needed to remove the second one, we could also do that as well. And in the event, you had a transition outcome, like maybe this wasn't for this customer at all, we can remove it by clicking this red X over here. The next transition outcome we have is other training. And is a training in clean energy or construction building trades, yes or no? And type of training, we have community college, university, trade school, on-the-job training, not apprenticeship, and other. Let me just check here. Okay. So let's say community college, program name, program, provider name, college. We have the address information that we can enter. And then here we have status and status date. So we got unknown, no response, enrolled, confirmed, 12-month retention, completed, graduated, or unsuccessful completion. So let's say, enrolled. And we'll enter our date there, click save. Our case note here. Let's see other training. And we had the status of enrolled, but if we wanted to add another status, maybe it was completed. We can select, add another status, the appropriate selection in the drop down in the date, and click save. Oh, I have to take a look at that. Not sure why that error is coming. Let me make a note. Other training. Could be UAT environment. I know sometimes maybe a little wonky, but we'll double check and make sure. But that's our other training. Transition outcome over here. And then open small business is the business in clean energy or construction building trades. The state of the business, decline, steady growing. Enter the business name. Business. Address information. Business URL. Number of employees. Here the business opens. What services does this business provide? Services. And then the follow-up date. When we click save, leave another case note here. We'll see that that's been recorded in here as well. And let me take a look here. I know we have, there's at least, let's take a look at our board of updates on another window here. I know we're going to add another outcome. Let me see here. Just want to make sure, see if there's any other transition outcome updates that we're going to have forthcoming. So there's the new one, and then, okay. We will be adding the outcome for joined entrepreneurial program, but we don't have that yet. But once we do get that out there, we'll let you know. And actually, we do have one more outcome here for job search. So we have pretty straightforward. The outcome, job search, the interview date. Is the job in clean energy or construction building trades, and is this a job a temporary or transition job? Yes or no. Save, and another case note. So then we can see all of the transition outcomes down here. And let me see, is this the one? No. Just do a refresh over here and go back to the customer list just to show one other thing with the transition outcomes. Is this first one here. We should see, since we added these in, currently the dash or the customer list shows, NA. We did not have any before, but when we filter again, oh, I still have the status set to enrolled. So let me remove that, and there we go. Now we can see customers exited, their status, their program completion status, and we can see each transition outcome listed over here. So as you add transition outcomes, you'll be able to see at a glance in your customer list which ones have been added to that customer's record. I did see some questions in the chat. Let me scroll up here. Can a placement be edited after it has been entered and saved? Yes. Yes, it can. Yeah, we just need to click on the, once it's been added, just click on that text there and it'll pull up that window there. And the process to delete it, if, like I said, maybe it was meant for someone else, click the red X, click OK, and you can see it gets removed here. And then let's see, that was the job search one. Yeah, that's no longer over there. Let's see. Will the option of successful bridge completion, job specific completion, and job placement be added as a selection? Let me go back over here. So successful completion of bridge, job specific completion, and job placement be added here. That I don't know. This status is almost that one. But it looks like with this status, we don't require placement for the criteria in order to update them as complete. So yeah, you could mark them as complete with this option and then add the job placement here. I think those are all the questions I'm seeing in the chat. And I guess while we're on this page, just to cover up these last few things here, follow-up case notes. We have this section here for following up with the customer. After I'm getting my programs mixed up. Is it completion or exiting? I think it's exiting. To follow up and leave a case note at these different intervals here. And as those case notes, those time increments in time happen, a case note is left, we're going to get that green checkbox right there. And then the earn credentials is just going to show any credentials that were entered in the career plan to training services that will pull over into this section here. If there was multiple ones, we'd see them all listed out here. And then success stories, we have this over here. If we click add success story, this is going to take us to a page in workNet where we can look at our success story guide. So this is kind of an overview on what success stories are, some of the different audiences that can be submitted for success stories, and some tips and writing materials and examples over here. And so we have a few different ways that they operate. So participants or customers, they could log in with their workNet account and submit a story. Employers could as well. And I think the one that at least we see most is service providers. So, grantees, navigators, they can log in and submit a success story on behalf of a customer. And let's see what account I'm logged in with. And click log in. And so if we're submitting on, for a customer, if we click search, no, I'm not logged into my workNet account. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so if we were submitting, on behalf of a customer, we could look up their, username, their workNet username, or their name here. Click search. It'll pull up a list of potential customers that you're adding the success story for. Since I am in production, I won't do that to pull back real data. But I think there's a way we can still get to that form. For employer story, so if you're submitting for an employer, here we go. So this is this is the form that you would fill out. So this is the one for participant. You'd have, the customer information here. You can enter the address for participant info, story info. This is where you could select, the CEJA program. And then you'd then be able to select provider, fill in the address information here, current pathway industry, any credentials earned. And then in this section here is where you're going to give the title of the success story and then the narrative portion of the success story itself. That can be added in here. You do have 5,000 characters as a limit there. And then we have upload a photo to appear with your success story. So, in some cases, it's, a photo of the customer. But if, you don't have one or they would rather not have their photo, organizations will, often use their own logo. And then we just have the terms of use agreement, accept the agreement, and save story to submit it. And we have staff checking the submitted success stories on a weekly basis, so it won't take long for those to be, reviewed and published. And then just taking a quick look at the employer one, it's pretty similar. Some of the fields changed, employer name and address field. And I think that might be it actually. And there is a third option for we have community story. Yeah, this is more for Apprenticeship Illinois, so I would say not to make that selection when submitting a success story. And yeah, that is. I guess there are. The only other thing I think I would go over with this is the program complete or the training completion status. Um, we do have the option for withdrawal, and if you do that, you select the date. You have the reason for withdrawal. We have a few different reasons over here. And then the exit interview questionnaire, which again is optional. And we do have in progress here, just in case, you mark someone as complete or withdrawn, but maybe they weren't. So, if you need to, you can go back in and, update that to in progress. And same for the program completion status. If they, are in fact not exited, we can go back and, make that change over here. See, yeah, not exited. All right, I do see another question in the chat. Thinking along the same lines as Catrice's question on completion type addition, we're thinking to see bridge completion, OJT completion, and job placement would close the loop on that person once they are in unsubsidized employment, but it's not necessary. Is that what you're saying? Um, I don't know if I want to go ahead and say that. I don't know if we have any of the regional administrators on. It does not look like that. I'm going to take both of these questions though back to them. We are meeting with them, I believe tomorrow. Um, yeah, yeah, I'll share that with the RAs, just to make sure I was actually, I believe, out of the office when this was discussed and implemented. So it's a little new to me, but yeah, like I said, I'll take this back to the RAs and we'll get an answer for everybody on that just to have everything clear. Here. Okay. All right, we got about 15 minutes left. I don't know if there's any other questions or any, process or thing we'd like to walk through in the system. All right. Well, if not, I'll take some of the things that came up, well, all the things that came up, back to our regional administrators. We'll have a discussion and hope to get answers and clarity for you on those items. And like I said, once we get that hot fix out for the plan versus actual report, we can send out an email just to let everyone know and check and make sure everything is looking good and coming in correctly. Who would be a new workforce hub contact for training?
Hey, David.
I'm so sorry. I accidentally muted myself. I
Oh,
had
David.
the mic there. So if anyone did ask a question out loud, I'm so sorry.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So this is Denise Moore, and we're here in Peoria, and we're one of the newest workforce hubs. And we've joined the TA various trainings, and it all is very interesting. But when you don't know where you are, it's hard to understand where you're going. And so, can I connect with you after this meeting to talk through some of those things?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I've sent you an email. It went to SIU, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you will
Yeah.
see it after the call and then we can reconnect. I didn't want to take time here with everyone on for some remedial information that we're looking for.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Any other questions? I don't know how long I had my audio on mute, so again, I apologize if anyone did ask any question out loud. All right, well, if not, we'll go ahead and end our call. We will get the recording posted to our partner guide here. And yeah, and if anything comes up, please reach out, submit a help request ticket, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.